thing to do for your husband. And in order to get a husband, you must cook and clean.
Huh.
Yes, you see the thing is now. So I want to enter my husband's house. Eh? They will say that nobody will marry me unless I cook and clean. So you know that there's a, especially, and the young boys are also encouraged to vet women and say, the woman is only a woman if she cook and clean, or you have to make sure that she's cooking you every single day. And so it's a thing of, even when you try to court, there's asking you that for the free labor. That's why we have uni wives. That's why they're a thing. For those of you that don't know, a uni wife is a poor girl that is usually sold hopes and dreams of one of the boys in a friend group.
Wait.
In the hopes that
uni wife, is it university wife, or I'm trying to get the full words.
University wife. It's now kind of like a slur, bless us. It's used to describe a girl who's doing wifey duties for the boy at uni. Because rather than equip these young men to go to university and do how to cook and clean, they just go and start chatting to a girl, get friendly with that girl. And then obviously the girl can cook because the girl can hold her own. And next thing you know, the guy is knocking on the girl's door. I'm like, oh, what's going on? I just thought I should check on you. Oh, what you cook? And then he starts inviting his brethren. Yeah, and then all the brethren come. Yes, the brethren come and they start eating. I remember one day I went into my friend's dorm thingy. We're all meant to link up, and the boys were fighting the next boy, and they were like, "Why are we fighting Samson for? What's going on? He broke up with that girl, man, and we're all gonna eat oxtail today. We're all going to." And I said, in my life, it can never be me. That was one thing I thank God is like that combative word that Abby used. That's what was used to describe me. Because what do you mean my purpose as a woman is to be cooking for people so that they can make mockery of me? No. It could never be me. So it's counterproductive because the boys are taught that you don't need to cook and clean. Don't you dare enter a kitchen. Don't you dare hold a pot. Because we are going to now, what's it called? We are going to now have wives for you, so you don't have to bother. And then you, as a woman, are told that you need to do these things because you won't get married otherwise, which is a lie. Because I'm not going to lie to you. Some of the people that were midnight ballerinas, the type of husbands they end up with, the type of people they end up marrying, I won't lie, it's better past all the so-called holier than thou girls. So that's one aspect.
But Bridget, let me ask a question. If the woman to be, that is the wife to be, if it doesn't cook for the man, so how can the man establish that, oh, my wife to be know how to cook at this point?
Both of you should know how to cook. I think that's a fundamental human skill. Why do you not know how to do that? And why do you need to vet whether I can cook? What if I'm a babe that can afford, I grew up with luxury and I had a cook and I've never entered the kitchen again in my life? What are you going to do then? This is the reason why you notice that when they pick certain women, they go to the village. The people that, they say, they try to pick them from squalor and say, I've made you. They never go for you could never go to Temi Odedela and say, oh, come and cook for me. You think she's cooking for Mr. Easy? She's not cooking at no dust. She don't cook. But she's married though. So it's one of them ones where the cooking and cleaning thing, you should just have that regardless. But I just think a lot of men have they've turned something that was an act of love and good faith into something that now is just looking for what you can get for free. They've visited 3 girls' house, they've eaten 3 different soup, and they've mixed it all together. It's turned into something that it doesn't need to be now. Right? The second point of, okay, how can we establish duties? This is what conversations are for. Have you noticed we don't talk to each other anymore? Like, we're talking, but we're not really talking. What are we really saying to one another? Do you understand? Yeah. Like, okay, we don't have honest conversation. When it's talking about where to go and eat, where to go and date, where to go and court, we're talking. We're not talking about where do you see your place 5 years from now? What are you doing to work towards what your ambitions and goals? How do our ambitions and goals vary? Are we aligned? Do you understand? Are we aligned? Where do you want to be now? Everybody's focused on money and how hard your body count is. that like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, you don't want someone that's been around. I understand that. But money is not the be all and end all. Money can go, money can come. But like, what are you doing to cement yourself in your career? Because somebody might be in school studying. They don't have the money now, but that doesn't mean they won't have the money. They're working their way towards the money. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, like, okay, if you're working to yourself towards that, why? Okay, I can see that you're working towards something here. Not that we're just saying, I like your teeth, there's butterflies in my stomach, and all these things there. Like, what? Do you plan?
But that's the thing most people discuss during courtship.
And that's the reason why the courtship goes left. Because what's knowing my favorite color going to do for when we're trying to build generational wealth? Like, for example, I've seen situations where there are people that, like, one person clearly has more ambition than the other party. And you can see that the other party is uncomfortable because, you know, sometimes it's hard to be around someone with ambition if you're not a naturally ambitious person yourself. You either get inspired or you just get left behind. So what that ends up...
So the so much ambition of the other person might make the other one uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, sometimes it manifests itself in the terms of uncomfortability. And then that person will just start becoming a naysayer, like, oh, that's unrealistic. Oh, how do you suppose you will do that? Oh, you know, that even in friendships, forget relationships now, I've had to distance myself from people that are always like, and when you want to do something, rise up to do something, they're always talking down on everything you say and do. It's like, okay, just because you can't see the bigger picture doesn't mean that I must now keep my ambition small and keep myself small because of you. Like, okay, you don't want to do it, that's fine. You don't think you can do it, that's fine. I think I can do it, so what's your problem? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's people out there that if they see ambition, sometimes it just makes them feel, I don't know if it's jealousy, I don't know if it's on discomfort, but if they're not inspired by that same ambition, it makes them really, really resentful towards the other person. So you have to start studying each other's humanity like this. When I want to reach certain levels in my life, is that going to make you uncomfortable, or is that not going to make you uncomfortable? How many kids are we having? Do you even want children? Let's even start there. Like, all these conversations, everyone just has children because they believe it's something they should do. But if you ask them, do you really want these kids?
Okay, apart from asking that question, at what point should both parties should be able to expose, I have so much in my account? Can they expose their full account figures to one another at this point?
I'm not going to lie to you. Why? Why are we for, like, if, okay, like, let's think about time date now. But I just meet you just now. I'm going to start telling you how much money I have. Like, like, what do you mean? Because, like, okay, I think if you say what you're doing for work, or like you explain where you are in life, people have a brain. We have this thing called tax brackets and bands. If you're telling me that you're working within a certain thing, I must be able to.
Because why I'm asking the question, because now we want, as a couple, maybe for the younger generation to be, and they want to be transparent. Okay, now we're talking about finance. We want to put everything on the table, the card on the table, credit rating, everything. Let's put
before I ring on my figure, we want to talk about credit rating. Okay. Look, it works for maybe some people. That's their own. Me, I'm just like, hey, I didn't ask for credit rating within the first 2 years, or no, because that one I don't even want heartache. I don't want problem. Before I find that there's debt, bam, next thing you know, that's why you're now I realize, oh, that's why you're hurting me, because you have debt and you're using me as your get out of jail free card. God forbid. God forbid. But I think there is balance. I think there's a way that you have to do these things. It's about reading each other, right? It's about how to establish trust and all those things. But the only way trust can be established is if we actually communicate and if you're open to trusting somebody else. So unpack your trauma, unpack your things from before. I think a lot of people need to do, not just like, we're talking about a lot of physical work here, like money, car, all the, let's talk about your mental. All the trauma of your childhood, have you unpacked it, finish? Because I don't want a situation now that, you know, you're still going through that, and then those demons that you're fighting, you're not going to bring into the relationship. I'm not Mike Tyson. I can't fight for anybody. I'm not fighting and warring with you every single day. So And I think that at a certain point, like I reposted something that said, no matter how you were raised, at some point you have to choose to grow up. Yes, you can go through hardship. Yes, you can go through terrible, terrible things. But at a certain point, it's up to you to become a better human being. So it's up to you to learn how to communicate. It's up to you to be compassionate. It's up to you. Like, again, like Olubi was saying, Ebby was saying, if somebody has OCD, okay, and you want to court that person, you have to go in with the understanding that person is going to be very particular and want their place kept a certain type of way. You either understand that or leave the person be. You can't come now and start saying, I think there's this thing of like nowadays, people don't want to date people. People want to impose their things on other people and have them live to standards of them that they've had up in their heads. You know? That they don't want them to they don't actually want to know the person. Because if you actually sit down and know the person, for example, right, I'm been with my partner now for like about 4 years, by the special grace of God. We are very different people on paper, right? Very, very different people on paper. But where like the opposites are, it's actually our strengths. So he's a bit more relaxed than I am. I'm a bit more intense. I'm very like particular and meticulous, but then he is able to ground me and say, not everything is that deep, Bridget. Sometimes let's take a breath, let's breathe. There are some times where he's like, okay, I don't know how to do something. Can I ask how to do this thing? Or sometimes he comes with a different perspective on how to do something and it actually ends up being a better solution. It's like, sometimes it's not, I think some people try to date people that are exactly like them or have to move it, tick every single box. Sometimes the opposite is a good thing. Sometimes it's like checks and balances, right? He was like somebody who said that he wasn't without ambition, but he didn't know like where to take his ambition. But when he saw me, he felt like, oh, you actually knew where you were going. You had a head on your shoulders. You had a sense of direction that I hadn't really seen anybody before around me had, and that motivated me to have that same sense of direction. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's that kind of thing of, on a human level, like, okay, he could have easily seen, there's people who have also seen me with that same ambition and said, oh my God, she's so combative. Oh my God, she's a hard woman. She's a combative woman. I said, you'll never get married. Well, look at me now, though. So I think it's all about like checks and balances. How do you think? And what Alubi said as well, please get yourself tested. Please go and do the medical examinations. Please have open conversations around sex. That was what I actually initially came up to say, that a lot of the time, I think Evie was saying how, courting about people and stuff like that, so you won't lead yourself to temptation. I think that we don't allow our kids to date. I think that's a very big problem for the dating scene. We don't let our kids to date in age-appropriate ways like, other races do. So a lot of the time, the kids are sneaking around and they think that love is something that's done in secret. They don't end up presenting people until like well later on, or if there's a baby on the way or something along them lines. And it now teaches girls that, you should be loved in alleyways and be sneaking around. Whereas like I gave the example of a girl I went to college with, and she was Oyinbo, and she said that the day that one of the guys asked her to sneak around, she's like, what? No, if you date me, you have to meet my mom. They have rules when she dates that the family has to know who the person is. They need to know who the other family is. They don't mind them going on dates and stuff as long as they pick and collect her. But this idea of her sneaking back in alleyways or come and meet me behind, she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that, and that saved her a lot of wahala. But I know a lot of blacks, they feel like, or like even ethnic girls in general, they feel like, I have to sneak around, love is secret, I can't talk about how I feel or everything. The man is meant to take the lead, so whatever he says goes, and it's not really creating healthy places where we can be like Ebby and the man boundary said, no, I know. You have to come to my parents' house, and I'll cook for you there, and I'll keep my standards, and I'll keep my stuff, and if you don't like it, you can, go keep it stepping. I think that comes from a place of power. That's why I was so happy with the submissions and the things I'm hearing, but I know I'm overtaking my time, so that was just some things I wanted to ramble on, but I'll talk later.
All right, thank you so much, Bridget. Thank you so much. Let me go to Idara Girl, good morning. There's this question I asked Bridget, and I don't know if you can start from there, about the credit score thing and the rest. At this point, what time can the man say, okay, this is my bank statement, this is how much I have. The lady, we have to present our bank statement to one another so we know how much we have while we are going into the marriage for both couples. Is that possible? Can transparency happen in that way?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I don't know. I was just being...
Because the finance is what people are running from. Us for Nigeria people will play.
Okay, before you even ask this question, there was something in my mind as when I was listening people talking, and I was saying all of these things sound very good on paper until you're actually in it and reality faces you. You know, you can never know somebody, even the human himself cannot know himself enough until you're faced with sense of adversities that will bring out parts of you that even you yourself didn't know you had, And when these adversities come when you are in a relationship with someone, it changes the dynamics because parts of you come out and you yourself, you're even scared of how you are now. And that now affects the relationship dynamics that you thought you knew. On paper, you've ticked all the boxes. You people suit yourself. You've not had all these wifey duties before marriage. He's now put a ring on it. You've got into it looks very plain. And then you people start life and things happen. And you're now seeing other parts of each other that never showed prior to all of these steps, checks and balances that you've done leading up to marriage.
But that's the place you bring out the paper that you show it to him that this was your behavior before marriage, and now this is your behavior after marriage. Don't you think that's
so? Now to the question you asked, and again, as I was listening to people, when two people come together, I think Bridget said something that I don't know if I'll be able to remember it in full, but when two people come together, it takes, you see parts of the person that you like. Okay, I think she said like the opposites, the weakness, each other complements each other. Now you see those complements, each of you, and then okay, with these amounts of compliments, this is my kind of person. This person gets me, and then you can compromise on the little things. The problem is when you see that there is, the compatibility is not there, the person complementing parts of you that you're willing and eager and okay to work with is not there, but yet you still want to go ahead with this relationship, even when you see that it is a detriment to you. That's where the problem is, because a lot of people see these things from the get-go, and then you still ignore it and go into it. And in marriage, it magnifies itself. And then it becomes a problem that we now have to talk about in future and deal with in future. Also doesn't mean that you can't see everything. Everything works okay. And then you go and the future affects you. And then you make all these decisions. So right from the get-go, we regard financials and all of that. And I think that's what being human and in relationship is. When you people find yourselves, you're talking, the person makes you laugh, you're talking day one, day two. Now you can't sleep without talking to the person. You wake up in the morning, you people are talking all the time. You people are finding that beauty in companionship. Some things just come naturally because you're now talking, you're getting to know a lot about this person getting to know a lot about you. Things about what you love, how you love being loved, the things about your basics, which is your finance, your work, all of those, your health, all of those discussions just come naturally when two people are finding that beauty of companionship and relationship in. It's not something that is enforced or something that there is a timeline to say at this point is when I'll talk about my finance. I mean, I can tell you, oh, this is my job, or I'm paid this amount of money. It doesn't mean that you come into my account and get the money. It's things that we get to know about ourselves. And then when you now go into the relationship now progresses to when you now want to spend your life together, it just comes naturally when two people have love and respect for each other. You want to get things in the house. Like, let me use myself as an example. And again, this example, I don't know if I have a bit of time, go back, because that's why I was laughing. Now, me and my husband thought, oh, we have the best of each other. We knew, everything was just easy. In fact, I wish he's downstairs working. I'm also, when we first started, maybe 3 months into that, because we didn't date long before we got married, and I got married very early. 3 months into the time, my husband just said, okay, that was my first GTB account. He just said, go to this account, that he's spoken to somebody, his account officer, that I should go fill the form, and he added me to his account. I mean, these things is when I tell my friends, they say, how can that I don't even know him that long. And every time we talk about it, is what you have taken so much. And he said, it was okay, because it's not now that we have all this internet banking, because then I was still in school. If I needed something, it was more like he couldn't manage going from work to his bank to do transfer. So he now said, okay, be on my account and maybe use whatever he had. And those were some of the things that in my mind, yes, I know it was like a cash moves, but there were things that made me say, no matter what, I know they leave this kind of person, that sort of thing. But all of those things happen. And eventually, there's so much to our stories. Maybe some other day when another topic affects them. But all of the hurdles eventually we got married. Not long, we came here. So all that enjoyment in Nigeria, even at the time when my husband, this work that we're enjoying, there was a plane crash in Nigeria sometime, one Bellevue. So the manager of his whatever was involved. So when the man passed away, after months, families did a lot of things that his position had to go. So we had to go through, and this year I'm talking in between 2 years from relationship to marriage. I went through high, low, all of those things, but it still didn't affect us as much until when we got here. Now, when we got here, for the first 1 year and some months, besides fees and everything, and of course we had maybe family support, but mainly his own finances, we were surviving on Nigerian funds, using monies that we had in Nigeria to pay away. By the time that money finished, and I didn't have a job, he was already working, because the way we did, I started school, he was my dependent, and then eventually he now got into school. But there's a lot of stories and dynamics to it. While he was my dependent, he got highly skilled migrant. So by the time he now went to school, he wasn't encased with the 20 hours work. So he was able to work full time while going to school. And then, but that period, by the time the money finished, my husband was struggling to work. Me, I was struggling with the 20 hours. School was only 2 hours for children. We had childcare issues. We had work clashing time issues. And this work I'm talking, both of us were doing, like I was doing 3 shifts work. I worked in Primark, worked in M&S, and I used to do concerts and events, like all this event hall, like whenever they had concerts at night, they want like servers and stuff. Yeah. And those early years, those were the worst. So these things put a lot of pressure and strain on our relationship, to the point that both of us were showing parts of us that we even never knew existed. At the time we drifted. I think whether it was in Ikestika's life, I once shared this, that we both got to the point where we said, I know they do again. What is this? Like marriage, it hit us both. And it's not that each of us knew, to a point that when we were walking, like you were using bus that time, when I come back, I know that by the time my bus drops close to the house, that's maybe the time my husband is about leaving for work. When the bus drops, I'll drop maybe 2 bus stops before my own, because I want to walk. And maybe the only call we call on a day is, how far are you? Are you almost here? Like the whole day we won't talk, and we are just because we want someone to be at home for the kids. There was so much strain that we weren't talking. The intimacy wasn't even ideal. This country shook us. Then my parents now came. My dad was still alive then. They came to visit us. They stayed at home. My mom and dad could tell something was happening. They tried to talk to me a couple of times, but when they eventually wanted to go, I remember the night before the morning they were leaving, they called both of us, sat us down, talked. But me and my husband don't speak the same language. So obviously, a lot of things will be missed. So they spoke to us. And I remember after everything, my husband was, he's a man. I said, oh, thank you. He used to call my father daddy boy. That's how he used to call him. Thank you, daddy boy, and everything. And me, I just started crying. Then I said, I want to go back to Nigeria. My mom, my dad was like, they couldn't know what was happening. I mean, all the time we're there, me and him would just, hi, hello, we talk, but they don't know what's happening inside. We had drifted. Money, stress, all these things hit us in different areas. I couldn't understand why he wasn't understanding me. He couldn't understand why I wasn't understanding him. Bear in mind, all of these things, you have visas to pay. You have, see, all of these things hit us in ways that it affected us. Now, so even though everything was good on paper, we now had adversity. We now had children to think of. We now had, after my parents talked to us, in fact, my dad actually cried that day. Me and my dad were very close. You know how fathers and daughters.
Yeah.
And he couldn't understand. He tried talking to my husband. Men, not like ego, whatever. Men, there's the way they talk. He couldn't really talk because he knew that both of us were failing ourselves in fact, there's so many things I can't, talk about.
Yeah, I understand.
But my father at the end just said, because there wasn't even time, and he was saying he wished he could change his whatever and stay with us and everything. And my mom is quite a stronger person. She just advised us and everything. And I remember they prayed for us. And every time, they were calling when they left. And it took, I think, even maybe 2 weeks after that, before me and my husband, I'm not saying I'm a hard person, but it took both of us sitting down to say, what do we really want? Do we really want it? See, so that sometimes when I talk about all these things, I have experienced all of these things that everything looked okay, but then it wasn't. And God just helped us, and we had to rebuild again. Do you know? We had to rebuild. In fact, we were living in a house like separated people for months. And if you ask me what happened, I will tell you a lot happened, but I also can't tell you exactly what that a lot is. Because things were just happening, both mental, this is talking about depression. It's now that depression is such a huge topic, like you're getting a lot of awareness of it. It's now that I understand that I was actually, in fact, both of us were depressed. It wasn't me, but because you can't understand what's going on with each other. So I say this to say that when people love on each other, some things are just normal to do. Again, like cooking, tidying. Two different men in different aspects of their life would view marriage differently. Like a young man that meets a girl, maybe in uni, or you started off young, you see that companionship because people will always be together. So cooking for each other, tidying on each other, both you and him, it just comes naturally. And that man, maybe by the time he gets his first job, his next thing is, this girl has been good to me. I can't stand not being around her. I want us to get married. Compared to a man that has maybe been through several relationships or even been through a divorce, his need in marriage will be different. He will now be looking for a woman that maybe if tidying was a problem in his previous marriage, that's what he'll be looking out for as one of the criteria. The girl must be able to tidy. The girl must be able to cook tasty meals. The girl must be, because he has seen all these things. So he's now basing that relationship for his own benefits. And this is where maybe a lot of people now have issues. I just think that these things are not as hard as they are when two people get each other. It's only a problem when you already have a blueprint on how you want to go into a relationship. And that's fine. When you meet a person and that's your blueprint and you're already from get-go telling the person, this is what I want, this is what, the person too will understand. If that you are the kind of person he wants, you people will make a match. If you're not the kind of person he wants, there and then it's okay. But it's things that should just happen in a relationship with two people. Now, just the last one regards genetic testing. When I said Nigeria happened to us, please, I today, like, I have seen a lot. Like, I have witnessed even my friend, my personal family. I've witnessed people die because of sickle cell. I won't tell anybody today, like, that discussion, I don't know, when they were talking about discussing fertility, and maybe now it might be okay, but I would think discussing like genetics, like that one, it's easier